a mistake, we need to face up to it. We need to tell the truth. That is integrity, telling the truth and honoring promises no matter the consequences.
They call me a god. 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 Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed. I'll take all the pressure like I'm Mason this test. Tear it up like I'm Jason. I see the world like it's ready for the taking. I see this place like a game I'm playing. Straight to the bank to collect my payments. No negotiations, it's my way, I was born impatient. And like a damn Freemason, I'll run this nation. They call me a god. 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 I don't know how to stop. I just go till I drop. Whether it's working or shots, give it all that I got. You can watch me work in my element. Anyone in the way is irrelevant. You wanna cross me, cool, not intelligent. Cause I don't forget shit like an elephant. Go ahead and tempt me. Put it on the line and you'll come up empty. If I got time, I'm deadly. Never caught off guard, no, I'm always ready. I got a hand real steady. Look me in the eye and you'll see no hezzy. About to get real messy. I'll put you in a grave 6 feet like Kenny. Call me a god. Call me a god. Call me a god.
I'm called of God. Called of God. And she says, Tim Ballard told me he'd been called of God. Some wild-eyed prophet, like.
Love me tender, love me sweet, never let me go. You have made my life complete, and I love you.
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing? How's it going? Happy Sunday with the time change. I took a shower and I got out and I was like, oh, okay. Some of my clocks changed, some of them do not. And I was like, okay. It was like 6:30 on one and 5:30 on the other. And I was like, oh, okay. For some, and this is the ironic thing. For somebody who has no concept of time, I have a lot of clocks. It's weird. I know. Anyways, so how's it going, everybody? I'm just now getting my voice back. I don't know why it went away, but it did. It's kind of weird. Anyways. All right. So I heard that Chad got his transport papers. I think for the 24th this month. Pretty sure. So that's good. He's going. Doomsday is coming, right? Tell your friends. Tell your friends. 8:35? Goodness. Right? I know. It's such a weird, it's hard to schedule. It really is. For some, again, no concept of time. So I'm better off, like, I'm a night owl. And that's where I shine, right? Everybody's sleeping. So it sucks. Hi from Nottingham, England. How are you doing, Natalie? Glad to have you here. Only 22 days to go. Then Mr. Potato Head will boohoo of... Oh, where'd it go? Will boohoo of how he was fooled, and it's not his fault. Exactly. It's everybody else's fault, don't you know? It's our fault. It's your fault. It's everybody's fault, but their fault. I agree. Seems to be the mentality here. Thank you, Fancy Nancy. You're so sweet. Thank you. Always, always thank you. Never expected, always appreciated. Know that. Mother's Day here. It's Mother's Day? Well, happy Mother's Day. I forget things aren't universal, you know? Yeah. Well, happy Mother's Day to you and all the mothers out there. All you mommies that aren't mommy doomsdays, right? Oh, man. Thank you, fetus's mom. Fetuses. Pesticus mom. Forgive me, please. I mean, I don't know why I read it like that. That's different. Sorry. Oh, well. And I now see, or that, or I was born on the wrong side of the planet, you know, maybe I need to be across the pond. It's everyone else's fault. Straight up. Well, today Donna is, she's on vacation. She's having some fun. So we're glad that she's having some fun. But she's still here. So, anyways, I just wanted to let y'all know that. And not just that, but thank you to all the mods who are in here. As always, I don't tell you guys enough. I don't tell you guys enough. Thank you. All right, let's see. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Right? All right. Let me go to it. Allegedly. Oh, it opened in another window. I see. I think. Okay. I believe. Let me make sure. Oh, yep. No. That's weird. Let me do this again. I don't know why I did that. Okay. There it is. Just making sure. All right. So I pulled a couple of excerpts or whatever out of Chad Daybell's book, his not complete autobiography. Don't you know? It's not complete. Okay. So you're not going to get the whole story of Chad Daybell. I know it bothers y'all. We want the whole story. Well, he doesn't do anything whole assed. I'll tell you that. He don't even die whole assed, allegedly. What am I doing? Okay. I see, said the blind man. All right. I'm not gonna worry about. I guess I'll be on here. I guess. All right. I'm not used to working in another window. I'm used to working in another tab. So it's screwing me up more than usual. Okay. Oh my gosh. All right. Okay. So I didn't finish this, of course. You know, I throw things together all the time. It's what I do. Well, it was just a little quote that came from one of I think Netflix, Sins of Our Mother or whatever. And it was something that Chad Daybell had text to Lori. And he says, the short version is that she has been switched. Tammy is in limbo, and a level 3 demonic entity named Viola is in her body. It happened around 10 p.m. Isn't that so specific, right? I'm just saying. Okay. Okay. So these are just, again, this just kind of came with one of the pages, but it says Leah's wedding in January 2017 to Adam Murphy in the Rexburg Temple was a frigid but delightful day. And then again, no order, just random stuff that I've found. Just to kind of get a little more insight into who Chad Daybell is. I know we have our opinions, but anyways, it says, looking to the future. Soon after I had my second near-death experience in 93, I was driving south along I-15 in Orem, Utah. I looked to the right and saw the dozens of buildings comprising Geneva Steel, where my dad worked. Then the scene changed, similar to what had happened to me on the road near Manti, when I saw a vision of tents in the wheat fields. I suddenly had an unobstructed view all the way to Utah Lake. Geneva Steel's smokestacks and large buildings were gone, and it looked like there were new subdivisions built on the land. I was told by the Spirit that this transformation would happen before any major natural disasters hit Utah County. Like it's the whole world, right? This actually came as a welcome vision because I couldn't imagine that scene happening for several years or even for a few decades. Geneva Steel was doing well at the time, and even if it did shut down, it would take a monumental effort to clear away all of the buildings and equipment. All right, anyways. That didn't include the challenge of removing all of the hazardous materials. I'm sorry about my voice, y'all. The area, to make the area habitable again. Habitable? Am I saying that right? Anyways, I just couldn't see a private company or even the federal government spending the time and effort to do that. Well, by the year 1999, Geneva Steel was struggling, and it officially shut its doors in 2001. Within 3 years, a deal was worked out for companies from China to India to buy most of the steel-making equipment. Other companies took care of the redevelopment of the land, and now homes and businesses are found there. And I thought this was just a little interesting because it says, I prefer a calm, peaceful life and a safe society. Okay. I prefer a calm, peaceful life and a safe society. Anyways, but it is ominous to me that the land where Geneva Steel once stood now matches what I saw in that vision. So check that off, right? One complete. I swear. Personal revelation is a problem here in this church, in my opinion. Ongoing personal revelation. As if they got to tell you, you can still have, anyways, like imagination or like foreseeing things, foreboding things. It's just weird. But I guess the fact that they make it such a big deal, like you can have it too. It's like a gift. You know what I mean? It's like blowing something up that doesn't need to be blown up because it just comes standard with every human being. Okay. That's my thoughts. Anyways, so it says, I don't know when. So he doesn't know when an earthquake will come, but I have seen and visioned the damage it will cause. I hope we still have a few years before it strikes, but it would be best to be prepared if it comes sooner. One certainty is that the Lord Jesus Christ is in charge. His prophet and apostles will guide the saints and lead the righteous to safety at the proper time. Anyways, he says how my novels, oh my gosh, how my novels are written. My novels are filled with many trials. Anyways, you heard it here first, April 1st, 2024. Anyways, and triumphs that will occur among the saints in the coming years. The most common question I receive is, quote, what parts of your books are based on what you've seen in vision and what parts did you make up? Unquote. The short answer is that I don't fictionalize any of the events portrayed. These words will come back and haunt him. I'm really not that creative. Let me describe how my writing process occurs. Excuse me. My torn veil allows information to be downloaded into my brain from the other side. The scenes I am shown are real events that will happen, but it is my job to fit them into the lives of the fictional families in my novels. So just know that, right out of Chad Daybell's damn book. He says, I always try to write my books in a priesthood dedicated location. Okay. That allows the spirit to flow freely. Since moving to Idaho, the BYU Idaho Library is my favorite place to write. Actually, it's like the David O. McKay building there. Okay. It also says there's a certain corner in the library where I can look out the window and see the BYU Idaho Center. When I'm able to write without interruption, I can write up to 10 pages in 2 or 3 hours. And then his book's done. He's like, another novel, right? Anyways, as I pray and focus on a particular chapter, scenes open up to me. I simply type into my laptop what I'm seeing. Oh God, was ChatGPT around? He was. Oh, can you imagine if ChatGPT was like fluent back then? Mm. Oh crap! You can write a whole book right now just by asking your ChatGPT to write a book or a short story. Interesting. Whew, I simply type into my okay. It is like watching a snippet of a movie, and once I get the details of that snippet typed in, another scene is placed in my mind. Mm-mm-mm. When I see the scenes, I rarely hear the dialogue. So if any part is fabricated, that would be it. Okay. However, I do feel guided in what comes out of the characters' mouths, and I might spend 3 or 4 minutes rewriting a conversation until it feels right. Just saying, his book's horrible. His books are Chad, we hate your books. I hate your books. Okay. And this one says, I am Mark Dalton. This one's interesting. I've mentioned before that I've mentioned before that my novels are based on what I have been shown regarding my children's future. But it is important to remember that the fictional Dalton family only has 2 children, Emma and Doug. The experiences the characters have are a combination of what I've seen regarding my 5 children. In other words, my daughter Emma's life course isn't going to fully match her fictional counterpart because so many other experiences have been merged in the novels with what I've seen regarding her siblings. It is best this way. The kids have a general sense of what lies ahead for them, but they don't feel their future is predetermined. Well, isn't that a luxury, right? I mean, just throwing that in there. Rest assured that I'm so rest assured now. I am resting assuredly, right? Rest assured that they rely on their patriarchal blessings for guidance, not their daddy's novels. However, putting 2 and 2 together, it means in my Standing in Holy Places series that fictional Emma's father, Mark Dalton, is loosely based on my own future. I will find that out. I have seen myself envisioned as an older man, having the wonderful opportunity of helping build New Jerusalem. I appeared to be in better shape in the future than I am now. I wonder if that was part of the Lily diet plan that he had transformed just from the time whenever the Rexburg Police Department went to go do a welfare check in late November, and when they were found in Hawaii in January by Nate Eden, right? Totally different transformation. Anyways, interesting. I appeared to be in better shape. Okay, I already said that. Oh no, I didn't. I appeared to be in better shape in the future than I am now, probably due to the lack of fast food restaurants in Zion. Okay. I hope my novels show that wonderful days are coming for the saints of God. Don't be paralyzed by fear. Just steadily prepare yourself both physically and spiritually. The coming trials can be prepared to an intense thunderstorm that we will endure together. Then after the clouds pass, we'll bask in the glorious light of the Son of God. I'm going to put that in a quote and like slam it on a bunch of Chad Daybell pictures and see how that fares for him. A glorious reunion. As I pondered how to close this book, okay, so it's the end of it, my mind was drawn to the wonderful people I have mentioned who are now on the other side of the veil. I thought of Keith, Grandpa Keith, Rosalie, Guy, Flora, Lucille, and many other ancestors are watching over me and my relatives. I pictured myself standing in the center of the Springville Evergreen Cemetery. So this tells me right here that he always maybe planned to be buried there, because we thought it odd, that he had moved to Rexburg, him and his family, in 2015, uprooted everything, started over, and then whenever Tammy was died, people thought it weird because he had, or whatever, he had planned the cemetery. I mean, oh my God, the funeral. He planned the funeral in Springville. That's where Tammy is buried. And so that's far away from, it's a drive for his anybody, for anybody in the family who doesn't live in Springville or that area to have to drive over there to tend to the grave. And so this it stood out to me because I was like, well, I mean, is it that far-fetched? Was it just to be a deterrent? Anyways, a predetermination of where she was going to be buried, because here it says that's where he's having a vision right here. I pictured myself standing in the center of the Springville Evergreen Cemetery. I saw people dressed in white emerging from all areas of the cemetery. Not in heaven, no. He's just going to be in the cemetery. I recognized a contingent of Daybell relatives coming toward me, led by Keith and Rosalie, this is grandparents, walking hand in hand. Then from the east, came my Chestnut grandparents from their burial sites. So yeah, it's conjuring of spirits. Guy and Flora glowed with purity and light as they approached. I hugged each of them, and the love that radiated from them was overpowering. I looked around and saw many other relatives gathering with us, including Tammy and our parents. The circle continued to grow as we put our arms around each other and cried tears of joy. I saw Lucille join Tammy and Phyllis. Okay. I'm just saying, I don't know. You can take this kind of a couple ways. Like, he already saw Tammy being dead, or this is just no all end all, like this is just, no contemplating or anything happening. Anyways, I saw Lucille join Tammy and Phyllis. She gave them a big hug and said, "We did it." I realized that achieving salvation is a great team effort that is happening on both sides of the veil. When that glorious day arrives, when we earned our reward, we will share it with those we love. I'm looking forward to it. Well, me too. Anyways, okay. Those are just the names of his books. Sorry. Right here. Okay. Lucille. Okay. Whoa. Am I backwards? Probably. I'm probably backwards. Let's see. Okay. Well, let me go back. Remember I said they were going to be out of order. So Lucille's message worked. Tammy quit playing Frontierville, and she and Phyllis have done a monumental work over the past few years. Thousands of names have been submitted to the temple. And I know those people are moving into paradise, right? There's spirit prison, there's paradise, there's outer darkness. Anyways, I have had a few other encounters with Lucille, that's Tammy's grandmother, since then, and she is in a much better mood now. One time was in the Provo Temple when several of her grandchildren were being baptized and confirmed for their ancestors. I saw her in a spiritual portal that connected to the confirmation room we were in. She was assisting spirits in and out of the room as their work was being done. She had a big smile on her face. Cemetery visions. Some of my most powerful visions have occurred when I was operating a weed eater to trim around headstones. I suppose it was because my mind was basically unoccupied and could be filled with heavenly knowledge. I noted this because it kind of goes with something I learned the other day, or it just kind of brought it to the forefront for me. But like when people dissociate, you can drive to work and like I know a lot of people have experienced this. I've experienced this where you're driving to work or whatever you're doing, and just all of a sudden you're like, "Oh crap. Well, I don't remember driving here." And then, well, anyways, according to the person that, watched this about, or that was talking about disassociation and things like that, and how that's kind of part of this whole, not conspiracy, but this whole agenda, I guess you could say. People like David Hamblin, I think Tim Ballard does this on purpose. I think that Chad and Lori did this to their victims, It's just my opinion. But if they instill fear in you, then it causes you to split. It causes the parts theory. It causes disassociation. And whenever somebody is disassociated and not so much in their body, they can kind of make you do, they can manipulate you a lot easier, because when you're acting in fear, you're not so rational. You're not reasonable. You're not like, whoa, hold up, and it's kind of, in my opinion, done to society as at large. Okay. Um, there's lots of things that, I mean, when there's a national bombing or something tragic, I mean, just the murders, or the missing kids, Tylee and JJ, that was traumatic. People got invested. Okay. And I mean, we act on emotions, a lot of us, and anyways, I just find this fascinating because it's kind of part of it. And so right here, to me, he's dissociating. I suppose it was because my mind was basically unoccupied and could be filled with heavenly knowledge. There were many times I often snapped out of a vision to find myself still holding the weed eater a few feet from where I last remembered standing. Too bad no one ever caught me on video. I'm sure it would be entertaining to watch. It would be about as entertaining as watching Chad Daybell in a courtroom. Okay? He's a toad. Y'all saw my thumbnail. I was just being sarcastic because it's a thumbnail and he looks like a thumb. And it is what it is. You get tired of making thumbnails. You do. I do. Because I really do put a lot of thought into every time I do a thumbnail. It's a chance for me to dissociate, if you will, and just kind of use my creativity to, I don't know, come up with something new. Have you ever watched that movie Mannequin? And he the guy would do the windows, shopping windows or whatever you call them. I think New York City, was so long ago. It was an 80s movie. But anyways, kind of like that. Kind of catch your attention. Anyways, so many of these visions were very sacred and aren't appropriate to include in this book. They often included short memories of my pre-mortal life. Okay. That's all about the John, what is it? Oh my God, it just went blank. James the Just, I say James the Lust, okay? With a capital L. But all the Holy Ghost, all those Raphael, quote, you'll hear a lot about Raphael in Chad's trial, I do believe. A few other things that were of note were the text between Chad, Lori, and the circle of friends, or whatever you want to call them, casting crew, where they would, green was significant, malachite, Tuesdays, Raphael, what else did they do? It's it's significant because it's important to them. And so the symbolism or whatever is interesting because it is important. It was so important to them. Why? And then I know there's numbered angels. If you go and look at the archangels and things like that, there's Michael is number 1, and so on and so forth. And I just find that interesting for what it's worth. I know there's quite a few more of those symbolic things that, dates are a big thing for them, right, DJ? Dates are very important. I remember when DJ had pointed out to me that Zalima had actually, I want to say, fudged her on the stand. She kind of fudged her, I want to say the date she married Alex. I want to say she put it to December 1st and it was November 30th, or I forget which day exactly, but he had brought that to my attention. And anyways, it's just, everything's intentional. I don't know why they like it. Again, it doesn't really matter to us, but it matters to them. And so to find out why it matters to them What significance does it hold? To me, that's what's important. Okay. So it's premortal life, and also glimpses of my role within my extended family as the second coming approaches. Well, he was going to help usher it in, right? Thank you, Chad. Many of these visions are incorporated in the final 2 volumes of my Standing in Holy Places series. Don't buy them. We will share them, okay? That's the plan. If anybody wants the link to this, I mean, I need to put it into a PDF. That way, like screenshot. I know I have all the screenshots. I just need to compile it and put all these things into a shareable, free online PDF where Chad Daybell does not benefit from. We don't want any of this money going into his commissary. I don't. And I mean, I do think the literature is important to have out there for just this reason right here, just to kind of go over it, see what behind the mind of a killer, an alleged killer, right? I just think it's important. So let me know. Email me, kresha0123@gmail.com, and we'll figure it out. There's got to be a good way, easy way, and less profitable way for Chad. All right. And then this one is chapter 19, company collapse. By early 2008, there were dark clouds on the book selling horizon. There was talk of the economy slowing down, but at our annual LDS bookseller convention, I heard my fellow publishers and store owners reassure each other that everything was going to be okay. A popular statement I often heard was, during the Great Depression, book sales actually increased because people still wanted to be entertained. Okay. Well, history didn't repeat itself in this case. He sounds so bitter here, like this whole page. It didn't repeat itself. Customers had many other ways to entertain themselves in 2008 than they did in the 1930s. By September, our book sales came to a standstill. It became evident the nation really had entered a recession. Customers quit buying books, and the bookstore owners panicked. They started sending hundreds of books back to us and demanding credit for them. It was a nightmare. Tammy and I saw the writing on the wall. As the economic problems continued throughout the nation, it was clear I needed to find a full-time job to support our family. Right? Oh my God. Yeah. You should have been doing that already. In my opinion, that's just me. I mean, yeah, no, just let your wife carry your fat ass. Okay, sorry. I had to say it. All right, so we essentially put Spring Creek into hibernation. I turned over our remaining inventory to Brigham Distributing, and they shipped out our books whenever someone ordered them, which wasn't very often. I realized it had been 4.5 years since the spirit had told me my family would be better off in 5 years. Okay. Right? I can oh my God, relate to that. I cannot find words today. Sucks. Okay. I was admittedly bitter because the chance of that prompting coming true looked very unlikely. We scraped by financially, and Tammy took a part-time job as a computer lab teacher at Art City Elementary School. Then I heard Spanish Fork Cemetery Sexton was going to retire. I applied for the job in November, but more than 150 people had applied, and I eventually gave up on even getting an interview for the job. Then around Christmas, I was notified that I had been selected as one of the final candidates. In January 2009, I went through a series of interviews with the department heads of Spanish Fork City. After a tense few days, I received the call I'd been selected for the position. The starting salary was a pleasant surprise. I would be paid better than I ever had, with great insurance. Life insurance? No, just kidding. I started the job on January 26th in the middle of a blizzard, but I was trained by the previous sexton for 4 days. Then I was on my own, but things went well, and I soon settled into the job. Suddenly, I was working about 50 hours a week at the cemetery, clearing snow and digging graves. When I started the Spanish Fork Cemetery job, the promise of the Spirit had been fulfilled almost 5 years to the day. With our 2 new jobs, we were indeed better off financially than we were in February 2004. You know why? Because you got a job. Anyways. Common sense. We were grateful for the new jobs, although in some ways the whole scenario felt like a cruel trick. In reality, both Tammy and I were still in shock at how quickly the book company had fallen apart when it's not built on a firm foundation. Okay. Okay. We had felt so guided and inspired to start the company. And then less than 5 years later, Spring Creek was seemingly done. The company's collapse had really taken a toll on Tammy. Why? Is it because she was really the one putting all the work in? Okay. Yeah, I lost my spot. Okay. She was our chief financial officer and took the brunt of the financial stress. There you go. She didn't smile for a long time, and she showed the symptoms of having suffered a mental breakdown. It was definitely the most challenging phase of our marriage. And we both needed a break from the publishing industry. We wanted to put it in the rearview mirror and never look back. I think that maybe they might not have ever recouped from this. And instead of Chad communicating his feelings with his spouse, who obviously loved him, we don't have to understand. We just, it's how it is, how it was. It just seemed like there was no communication, and so his eyes started shifting, perhaps, it really does stand out to me. Okay. However, I gave her a special priesthood blessing at the time that strengthened both of us. Okay. I cringe when I hear these priesthood blessings. I'm like, because they were really pretty not good. They just don't sound right. That's just me. Again, they've perverted everything, and I've focused on Chad and Lori and try to see how they see things. So if the perversion's there, that's why. I'm just saying. Okay, so he gave her a special priesthood blessing at the time that strengthened both of us. During the blessing, I was shown Tammy in the premortal world. I saw her in a beautiful white dress, vigorously defending the plan of salvation. That's interesting because right there, I remember there's a text from Zolema. I don't really know it verbatim, but something along those lines. It was after Tammy died, and Zolema was talking to Lori, and she was like, "Oh yeah, just like in my vision," or something like that. She was in a white dress, or was she saying Lori was in a white dress? Oh, now I'm gonna have to check. Not right now, but if anybody knows, let me know. Okay. I saw her in a beautiful white dress, vigorously defending the plan of salvation to a large group of spirits during the war in heaven. Then the scene changed. So was it not the war in heaven anymore? And I saw her teaching a class of spirits in a large auditorium. Now she just said spirits. He just said spirits. Okay, spirits right there too. Okay, just checking. Okay. I knew she was one of Heavenly Father's most valiant children. We had been put through a very tough test, but I assured her we would make it through and be stronger for it. In the vision, Tammy had long brown hair. Her hair turned darker after she gave birth to Garth, and she now looks more like her premortal self than at any other point in her life. Well, okay. Nearly given up writing. When the company collapsed, I had written the first 2 volumes of my Standing in Holy Places series, and in my frustration, I was ready to call it quits on that project too. However, the Spanish Fork Cemetery secretary, Marty Warren, started reading my books and became a great support to me. Whenever I would take the cemetery paperwork to Marty at the city offices, she would say, quote, when is that next book coming out, unquote, or quote, I need more books. I gave them to my friends to read, unquote. She really was a powerful motivator. So I would go home at night and make some progress on the books, eventually finishing this series over the next 2 years. Right. Spanish Fork Cemetery. in some ways, it was surreal that I was suddenly the Spanish Fork cemetery sexton, right? When you grow up in Springville, your main rival is Spanish Fork. So it was an adjustment to work there, but I had some great coworkers and I started to bounce. I don't know. I don't know if that finishes. No, it doesn't. The photo on the left is Grandma Lucille, a year before she passed away. The photo on the right was taken during her younger years. She's beautiful, right? When I visit with her now, her spirit appears like her younger self. She is working hard in the spirit world and isn't letting us slack off on this side of the veil. All right, I'm gonna go check on you guys, see how you guys are doing. I need to move this big thing. It's like, okay. Hey, just check in. He has a storm. We'll never forget the damn storm. We will never forget the storm. Bastardizing everything since when was he born? 1969 or something. Bewitch, you crack me up. That's so weird. I have to, yeah, I learned the other day, I was like, okay, I can't read their comments out loud without reading them first. I mean, I don't mind, just other people. So, it's welcome here. Just know that. More books, yeah, I know. It did. I'm glad, Irene. I'm glad. It's the pun. It's the pun, He looks like a toe, a big toe. And it's a thumbnail, right? Anyways, thank you. That's really the only thumb they had in Canva. I was like, come on now. Chad is cosplay, playing Joseph Smith, copulation with other living men's wives. Oh, yeah. And then they're doing it too. It's just so fun. Yes, he is so boring. Derpy walk, derp to derp. No charisma. Nope. He left in his premortal life, I think. Okay. Yeah. Well, no, I have to say it because now I'm making a big deal of it. I've said it before about Lori, and I know it's not very tasteful. Okay. But the best thing about Chad ran down his mama's leg. Okay. I said it. All right. Now I can move on. Okay. I do too. You're not out of the realm here in that thinking. I think something weird. Something, I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. But it's weird. And it's weird in the context of Chad Daybell. If you're Mormon, which I doubt I have any Mormon people here, but I mean, if you're Mormon, then they've bastardized it. Okay. So everything I do, I look at it through their lens or try to, so that I see it perverted also, which is horrible. It's horrible. Right. Same here. Touche. It's welcome. Anytime. Hey, Chris. How are you doing? I know. Hell yeah. I wonder how many of you guys think that priesthood blessing was like a last rites for Alex Cox, from Chad Daybell to Alex Cox, his brother-in-law, right? Yeah, I think so too, Ravina. They were good looking, right? I know Chad is so boring, but then I feel bad for saying that because Tammy, it's no reflection on her. I think she was just young, and it's kind of like the next thing to do in this belief system. Hurry up, have kids. Hurry up, put everything for a woman. It's different. So perhaps she felt pressured. It seems like Chad felt pressured too through his writings, which we'll see when I continue, right? Okay. Oh, okay. I went to the wrong window. Shocker. That's a big shocker. Okay. And do I have that right? Yeah. Okay. So sorry. All right. This says recent spiritual books. There was one aspect of the Spring Creek's collapse that really bothered me. Soon after we published Suzanne Freeman's book Through the Window of Life in 2006, I had a vision of a tall, dark-haired woman who would publish her near-death experience with our company. It was a full waking vision of her speaking to a large group in an elegant building with balcony seating, and I was sitting near her as she spoke. She had a distinctive voice that I would recognize anywhere. Yet now I was essentially out of the publishing business. I expected to be Spanish Fork cemetery sexton until I retired, but something strange happened. We still had about 20 books in print, and as the economy improved, these older titles were suddenly selling better than they had when we first released them. I started speaking to book clubs around the valley, and my earlier novels found a new audience. The sales revenue still wasn't enough for me to leave my full-time job. Oh my God, he can never just get ahead, right? I'm just thinking he's just like he does enough just to eke his way by. Does anybody else get that impression? Like he's got what do they used to say? He's got wine or champagne taste with a beer budget, you know? Bush beer, like low. And so it's, I don't know. It's like he expects everything to be given to him because he doesn't seem to want to work for anything. And then if he does have to work, he only does it, just to eke his way through life at the expense of his family and his wife, you know, he settles on things. And I'm sure he guilt tripped Tammy for, maybe not doing enough or who knows? Because I mean, you got to think she was raising freaking their kids also. Okay, but it gave me the hope that maybe the company could bounce back. I still had that dark-haired woman in the back of my mind I had seen in vision several years earlier. I have actually refused to publish several near-death books over the few. Oh my God, I have actually refused to publish several near-death books over the years. I followed the spirit on those decisions. Sometimes the experience itself measured up as authentic, but if an author seemed too focused on making money or gaining fame, right, I would put the brakes on the project. Oh my Lord, right? Okay, hi pot, I'm kettle. In other cases, the authors would seem like good people, but their manuscripts would leave me with serious concerns about the source of the material. Uh-oh. Bow down before the Lord you serve, right? Okay. Okay, so I would sincerely ponder and pray if these experiences were meant to be published to the world. Many times the answer from the Spirit would be a strong warning of steer clear. I haven't seen any of these books get published elsewhere, so I'm grateful for the guidance I received to not publish them. Hello, confirmation. Oh my God, right? Okay, A Greater Tomorrow. There have been a few experiences, though. In January 2014, I was checking a preparedness website when I saw a post by a woman named Julie Rowe, who said she felt she should share her near-death experience. She asked if anyone knew someone who might be able to help publish her experience. I thought, I do. I sent her a basic email explaining that I was the president of Spring Creek Books and I would be interested in hearing her story. We exchanged a couple of emails and then I called her to make the conversation easier. I still didn't know what she looked like, but I recognized the distinctive voice. She had a Facebook page at the time. He's doing some vetting right here, right? He's like doing his own investigations. And I looked up her photo after we talked. Oh my God, it was the tall, dark-haired woman I had seen. Julie began working on her manuscript, and it came together quite rapidly, even though she lived in Arizona and I was in Utah. Her book, A Greater Tomorrow, was released in mid-May. I never even met Julie in person until mid-July when our families got together at BYU's Bean Museum. Okay, which is interesting. I'm just going to note this, not that it's relevant to anything, but Bean Museum. That's April Raymond Bean. That's her name, one of her last names, right? Anyways, Later that same week, Julie spoke in the Logan Tabernacle to several hundred people. As I sat near her on the stand while she addressed the crowd in that historic building, the vision was fulfilled. Check, right? Check, check, and check. Okay, I forgot to do this. I'm sorry. Well, we all right. We all right. Oh, Ravina Denver says, Julie reminds me of that one chick that predicted the Brian Kohlberg murders with tarot cards, but chose the wrong person. Yeah, it's important you get those right, right? All Chad wanted to do is go to these church meetings, cough, cough, to give speeches to the like-minded weirdos and looking for an affair partner, or 2, or 3, or 4, however many. He was willing to be that guy. However many it took. I wonder if he was always going to, whether it was with Lori or not, was he always going to? I think it was. Well, let me finish my sentence. Would he have gone through with his plans? And then as I said that, I was like, okay, well, what about all the people he told that Tammy was, she's just the first part of his life. She's not in the second part. It's 2 chapters. I'm saying that facetiously, right? Because he's a DICK, in my opinion. Sorry. I didn't say it though. Twirl streamers, little brands. Twirl streamers. Slaps counter on hand. Slaps hand on the counter. Oh my God, I'm backwards. Still not as backwards as Chad Daybell. Right. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I should never look away, but I did. And okay. All right. Tammy and I faced a curious dilemma in creating Julie's book cover because Julie had actually seen the book in her vision of the future. She tried to describe the cover to me and she mentioned a field of red flowers. I'm usually the one who finds the cover images for Spring Creek's books. And in this case, I searched through hundreds of images because that was just so tasking, right? Of red flowers on a couple of photo websites. Well, don't hurt yourself. Okay. Good God. He is so egotistical, y'all. It's like it's hard, right? Oh my God. Again, thank you for ChatGPT not coming out until a little later. I think. I'm pretty sure it wasn't out then, but who knows? There might have been a bear, the early beginnings of it. I don't know. But can you imagine what he would do with AI right now with how you just describe an image? Holy hell. Okay. I finally found one that was similar to her description, but I knew it wasn't right. I gave up and went to bed because that's what I do. I give up. Only to awake with a start in the middle of the night. A voice said, quote, "The image is there now." Did I just? Yep. Okay, that's twice. Okay. I went out to the computer, opened the photo site, and typed in, search engine optimization, yo, field of red flowers. Ta-da! The image was right there on the first page. Oh, damn. Fulfilled. Prophecy fulfilled. Check. We need like a little bell. Tammy assembled the cover the next day and sent it to Julie, who quickly responded, "That's it. That's amazing." Julie's second book, The Time Is Now, was written in a similar manner, including another heavenly intervention in finding the right, cover image. That book focuses on the words of the prophets concerning the latter days, with additional insights from Julie on future events. She also gives advice on how to spiritually and temporarily prepare for troubles that are coming. Julie is a humble, kind person who simply seeks to do the Lord's will. The books have blessed many, oh my God, the books have blessed many lives in helping people recognize and understand the Lord's love for each of us. She has received severe opposition at times, but I see that as a testament that she's on the right course. There's that thinking again, where if everybody's against me, there's that Ruby Frankie right there. Just because people were like, girl, you are not parenting right. You are being hateful. You are not, you're opposite, girl. And she probably, just like Chad, just like Lori, sees that as, well, that's just because I'm on the right path and I'm righteous. And that's what happens to those who are doing the Lord's will, right? And that is so dangerous, in my opinion. That is so effing dangerous. Again, I think that's why I keep up with this so adamant, like it bothers me. This one didn't finish, but anyways. Hector Sosa. A couple of months after Julie's second book was released, I was visiting with my friend at home in Springville when the spirit said, go knock on Hector Sosa's door right now. He needs to write a damn book. I really hate receiving those kinds of messages. Hector had posted some messages on a website about visions he'd had about the future. Well, there you go. That's probably what prompted Chad to go ask him and do what he was ingrained to do as a missionary in this faith system, in this belief system. And I mean, it's to network. Okay. Straight up. I see it every day. And it's awesome. And then it, you can see it working where he's using it as a confirmation of the spirit, but it's really just what was, what he was conditioned to do, in my opinion, or taught to do. Okay. So he hates receiving those kinds of messages. Hector had posted some messages on a website about visions he had had about the future, but I hadn't considered approaching him about writing a book. After all, I knew how writing a book can change a person's life completely, in both good and bad ways. I had never met Hector or even sent him an email message, but after hearing that voice, I went to the computer, a tool of the devil, right? And found his address. I was happy to see he also lived in Springville. At least the spirit knew it would be a short trip. A dirt to dirt. Okay. Oh, there's the derp to derp. Cue it in. That's more like a dirt to dirt. Oh my God. Okay. So I was expecting him to live in Provo or even farther. Oh my God. I grabbed my jacket and told Tammy, I need to go tell someone they need to write a book. She is fortunately accustomed to this kind of thing. Poor thing. Okay, she said, I'll see you when you get back. It was dark by the time I got to Hector's home. Why, if you lived right there? I mean, anyways, that's just lack of planning on your part, Chad. I rang the doorbell and Hector opened the door a bit tentatively. I said, hi, I'm Chad Daybell. I publish Julie Rose books. You've heard of her, right? Hector nodded. Yes, I've heard of her books. Can I come in for a minute? I asked. Hector graciously allowed me in, and I explained I had read some of his dreams on a website. There you go. He shared more details about them, and we really felt like old friends right from the start. I met his wife, who is also named Tammy, and I thought that was a good sign. After half an hour, I finally broached the subject of writing a book. Hector looked shocked. Me? He asked. Wow, I don't know. I figured that answer was better than no. Oh God. He's an optimist. Which is okay. You know what I mean? So I explained how, oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm smoking. So I explained how I would help assemble it. He soon agreed to do it, and I made sure his wife Tammy was on board as well. That's interesting. I mean, I wouldn't think Chad would too much be considerate of people's feelings, especially whenever he was asking his neighbors to, let him and Lori, his concubine, live in their basement, once they help him bail her out or put their houses up so that he could bail her out. I mean, he's very short term in thinking, in my opinion, because I mean, did they really think they were going to get away with this? That's the big delusional part, right? In my opinion. All right. They are a great couple, and she has been a huge support every step of the way. I just thought this. Oh, why did I cover that? I covered it up and I can't change it right now. But anyways, and it covers up the whole part. And there's this bird, the book about, no, I can't read it. Shame on me. And then somebody he worked with at one of the publishing companies or whatever, at one of those companies, drew that. And that was Chad's. I wish I had the words, but I don't. I should know better. I need a picture book, right? Okay, Grandpa Keith, right? Grandpa Keith played a big part in determining whether, in my opinion, in the manipulation. He played a big part in the manipulation of getting what Chad Daybell wanted. There was that one text or whatever that he sent to Lori. Like, I mean, basically, I can't provide you any protection anymore, because she was mad at him. And it was so gross because he's like, oh, okay, I don't have it at hand or whatever, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Anyways, let's see. The man fell to the ground, and as Keith rolled him over, he saw a blonde young man, no older than 16, who looked similar to his own brothers-in-law. It sickened him, but the experience possibly helped prepare him for the trials that lay ahead. He got along well with his fellow soldiers and was nicknamed, quote, the Utah Kid. On Thanksgiving Day, 1944, he wrote to say he was in his foxhole eating turkey out of a tin can, and that despite the snowy cold conditions, the meal tasted quite good. His platoon, I don't know why it's highlighted, his platoon moved forward, and December began with Keith becoming the platoon leader, due to his own leader being killed. Sometime during the fighting, a shell hit a wall close to Keith. The impact sent fragments of the wall flying toward him, and one piece cracked his kneecap. It slowly healed, but it would occasionally give him trouble throughout the rest of his life. Keith's platoon chiseled foxholes out of the frozen soil, awaiting a German attack. On December 3rd, the attack came. Soon, only 7 platoon members were still alive. The German tanks rumbled toward the soldiers, with the tank drivers spinning their tracks, trying to crush the soldiers in the foxholes. Keith and his fellow soldiers ran from their foxholes, spinning their tracks. Oh, it's a repeat. I think. Trying to crush the soldiers in the foxholes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Keith and his fellow soldiers ran from their foxholes to a large shell hole, hoping it would provide more protection. Then all they could do was lie low and hope to go undetected. One German tank rumbled past them, and they gave sighs of relief as it continued on. Then suddenly the tank stopped, shifting gears and reversed to a stop right over the hole. The men were sure they would be killed. The tank began to grind its tracks, but the soldiers were able to avoid death. After a minute, a door in the belly of the tank opened up, and the Americans were pulled into the tank as prisoners of war. And this is my grandfather, Keith Daybell, at Camp Roberts in California before heading to the front lines in Europe. Suze, that's for you. I know you'll help me keep up with this. All right. Okay. I should have probably put these in order. Might have made sense. Over the back of a horse. The wound was just below the hip, and despite the use of a tourniquet, it was bleeding heavily. They reached a man's jeep, put Robert in the back seat, and rushed him to the hospital. He had lost nearly 2 pints of blood, but thankfully Keith, Theo, and LeVar all had the correct blood type to donate blood to their father. Robert's life was saved, but his leg had to be amputated. Ooh, can you imagine an amputation back then? Oh my God. Oh. Robert never let the incident get him down, though. He got along fine with a plastic prosthetic leg and a cane. My father Jack joined Keith and Rosalie's family in 1947, and the older boys welcomed home their baby brother. Over the next few years, the lumber business thrived, and Keith began plans to build a larger home for his growing family. A baby girl named Judy was born in 1951. So this is Rosalie and Keith with Lanny and Ray soon after his return from World War II. Okay. And this is Grandpa Keith. After his return from World War II, Keith made the most of life, including hunting and fishing, often to provide for his family, food for his family. He appears to have caught his limit of trout this day. All right, let me finish this cigarette. All right, an unthinkable tragedy strikes. Keith began August 9th, 1951, at home in Springville. Oh, let me put it all the way out. Awakening from what he called, quote, the best night's sleep I had ever had. He had traveled to Springville the previous afternoon. He and another man had shot a deer that day at the lumber mill, and when one of his employees began to feel ill, Keith offered to take him home. Since he now had a deer, he wanted to drop off to Rosalie anyway. Keith headed back up to Soapstone Basin, arriving as his employees prepared to lift a large diesel engine off the back of an Army flatbed truck with a smaller A-frame truck. Before Keith arrived that day, the smaller truck had actually tipped over on the first try and had torn apart the driveline. The men had repaired the truck and were preparing for another attempt when Keith reached camp. As they continued the project, Keith chatted happily with the men, telling them how Rosalie had dressed Judy in a beautiful white dress the night before. And Keith said seeing his young daughter dressed so beautifully had made it, quote, well worth the trip, unquote. Okay, they got the engine off the truck, and it was now 3 p.m. Keith suggested they call it a day and go cook up a big meal down at the cabins. It had been a long day for the men. And they eagerly climbed onto the A-frame truck. In their haste, they neglected to drag a log behind the vehicle, a common practice which served not only to bring one more log down the mountain, but also helped in the braking. Another man took the wheel, and Keith hopped into the passenger seat. The truck didn't have doors. Well, what's going on? Okay. Just a windshield and a rollover bar. The driver took a short but steep road back to the cabins. As they started down the hill, the truck's driveline broke loose again. The truck sideswiped a tree, and the driver steered toward a small hill to stop the truck. As the truck left the road, I hope it finishes. Yeah, it does. What? Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Left the road. Keith was thrown to the ground. The truck's back right tire rolled over him, crushing his chest. His fellow workers made their best efforts to revive him and get him breathing. But to no avail. So he had a near-death experience too? Is that why they're tight? Keith was taken from this earth and returned to his heavenly home. Yeah, he did. I don't know how I missed that before. His death at age... Oh, no, he really died. Okay. Oh, my bad. Okay. I'm mistaken. His death at age 32 stunned the family and community. After proper care at Berg Mortuary, Keith's body was taken to his home and placed in the living room, where family and friends could pay their respects and offer sympathy. As was the tradition, a light was left on near the casket throughout the night. Okay. Says the sexton, right? On the morning of August 13th, Keith's funeral was held at their church. The chapel was filled to capacity, and dozens of additional mourners filled the basement, where they could hear the service. Following the funeral, the procession traveled south about a mile to the Springville Evergreen Cemetery, where Keith's body was laid to rest with full military honors on a sloping hillside with a beautiful view of the valley. On December 16th, 1952, Rosalie and the children traveled to the Salt Lake Temple, where Rosalie and Keith, through proxy, received their endowments and were sealed for eternity. Then the children were sealed to their parents, preparing for that day when the family would once again be reunited. So Chad has full intentions or expectations of being reunited with his wife, Tammy, I do believe. Oh my God, I can't open this. Okay. All right. Son of a steelworker. I'm sorry that I'm not interacting much, but I just kind of want to get as much in here as I can. Son of a steelworker. During the commotion surrounding Keith's death and funeral, little 3-year-old Jack, which is Chad's dad, was feeling very confused. The night before, his father had lain in the front room without moving, and Jack had begged, "Daddy, wake up." Life suddenly became very challenging for Rosalie and her children. They didn't have life insurance. Uh-oh. I never saw that either. And although her parents helped out as much as they could, Rosalie saved every penny to make ends meet. So although my dad Jack had a rambunctious childhood filled with pranks and troublemaking, he made it through okay. Rosalie eventually married a fine man named Glenn Kirkwood. I remember seeing that last name Kirkwood on LDS Freedom Forum. It just was like Kirkwood, it has a street sign. Who worked for the Provo School District, and money wasn't so tight anymore. Dad's recreational outlet in life was his love for hunting and fishing. He also met a lovely young woman a year younger than him named Sheila Chestnut. They dated steadily throughout high school and even after Dad attended BYU. He was planning on serving a mission, but the events of the late 60s sent my parents' lives in a different direction. So he didn't serve a mission. There's Jack. That's his dad. And there's Sheila. My parents, Jack Daybell and Sheila Chestnut, during their high school days. What a good-looking couple. The United States government held a draft lottery in which the draft order for American young men would be determined randomly based on their birthdays. Dad's birthday was one of the first ones selected, meaning it was certain he would be drafted and assigned to ground warfare in Vietnam. A mission was no longer an option. The government was only allowing 2 missionaries per LDS ward to serve each year. And there were already several young men ahead of Dad on the list. After his World War II experiences, this is back to Keith, I guess. Okay, maybe not. After his World War II experiences, Keith had told Rosalie that if their sons ever had to fight in a war, that they should try to get in the Navy or the Air Force, where they would at least have a bed to sleep in at night. When Rosalie reminded Dad of that counsel, he decided to join the Naval Reserve. Okay. That's for you, Suze. Oh, I didn't mean to. Oh, my bad. Oh, my God. I did that on accident. Anyways, it's a shortcut key for if you want to mark the spot for later. You can go find it. And that was, anyways, it didn't work. It did a mic drop, though, as you just witnessed. Anyways. All right. So Dad learned he would be stationed in San Diego, California for at least 2 years. Mom's father, Guy, had served in the Navy in World War II and knew what Navy life could be like for a single sailor. He suggested they get married before Dad left for California. My parents followed his advice. Rather than be separated, they were married in the Logan Temple the summer after Mom graduated from high school. Then they headed to a new adventure in San Diego. Oh, Chad makes his earthly debut. Oh, and we're all just so blessed because of it. Don't you just feel it? Okay, it says right there, my dad and I spending some quality time together in 1969. He's a big baby, while he was home on shore leaving. I'm sorry, I can't read. While he was home on shore leave from his service in the U.S. Navy. I was born a year later in Provo, Utah, during Dad's 2-week shore leave. My parents scheduled the shore leave to coincide with my due date and traveled to Utah so I could be born among family members. But my due date passed. And then another week slipped by. Sounds like he's selfish. No, I'm kidding. I still wasn't budging, though, and Dad needed to return to California in a few days. Dad finally asked Mom to go for a bumpy ride with him up in the mountains to see if it would jolt me into action. I wonder if there's brain damage from that. Anyways, it was a little risky, but it worked. I was born the next day. I'm just glad my birthplace wasn't Hobble Creek Canyon. The dirt, right? Would have made a difference. I'm just asking. I was given my baby blessing at Grandma Rosalie's home, and then we headed back to California. We lived in a small apartment in National City. Dad was gone to sea for long stretches of time, so Mom and I would drive around Southern California in our little Volkswagen Bug and see the sights. I returned to Utah. When Dad's service in the Navy ended, we moved back to Springville. Dad was offered a job at Geneva Steel in the coke plant, where they turned coal into pure carbon called coke that was used in the steelmaking process. It was a tough, dirty job. Yes, it is. But my brother Paul had joined the family, so Dad did what he needed to do to support us. You hear that, Chad? Dad did what he needed to do to support us. Not just the bare minimum, right? There you go. You're welcome. I know it's a little late. Dad was soon selected by Geneva to complete an electrician apprenticeship through Utah Technical College. So during the mid-70s, he worked full-time, went to school all day Saturday, and squeezed in time for homework. He often had to work graveyard shifts, so he put a small cot in our cold concrete cellar and would sleep there during the day because we were so noisy. As a young child, I didn't understand how brutal his schedule was, but he graduated with straight A's and was promoted to a much better job as an electrician. Okay. As a young child, I didn't understand. Okay, I already said that. As part of his work duties, Dad would go out at 2 a.m. and check various places of electrical equipment. His usual route included walking down a set of railroad tracks that went through a tunnel. This tunnel went under a building where coke was loaded into railroad cars. One night, Dad walked about 30 feet into the tunnel when he heard a voice say, "Don't go through there." He stopped for a second, thinking he was just being spooked. After all, it was an eerie place to walk around alone and in the middle of the night. There's no and in there. I just added that on accident. He laughed at himself, but only walked a few feet farther when a loud voice repeated, "Don't go through there." Okay. He stopped again, but told himself to not be so nervous. Then a loud voice said, "Jack, don't go through there." Damn it. This third warning scared him enough that he retracted his steps out of the tunnel entrance and instead used the asphalt road that paralleled the tunnel. He reached the other end of the tunnel He reached the other end of the tunnel and walked back onto I suck at this. Obviously, I didn't do this right. Okay. He reached the other end of the tunnel and walked back onto the railroad rails. Just then there was a tremendous crash right behind him. A thick cloud of coke dust hit him, and he couldn't see anything. It took a minute for the dust to clear. Then he saw a 40-foot long conveyor belt system with all of the structural steel supporting it had fallen from 20 feet above the ground. It landed on the tracks where he would have been walking if he hadn't followed that prompting. Company investors discovered that a large cable had been supporting the equipment for 30 years failed at that moment. Dad felt his father, Keith, was watching over him to save his life. Over the years, Dad continued to work his way up through the ranks at Geneva Steel, eventually becoming the general manager of the coke plant. It wasn't a fun place to work, and the coworkers could often be tough to work with. But throughout the years, I've met many men who worked with my dad, and they universally praise him for being such a good boss. Wow. He has the same haircut today. Oh, just keeps it a little shorter. My kindergarten photo in 73, taken at Springville's Grant Elementary School. Well, I'll be. All right. Let me see. All right. Changing priorities. Dad was active in the church as a teenager. And as I mentioned earlier, he had planned on serving a mission. However, as he juggled his many responsibilities at this time in his life, he didn't make it to church very often. Shame on you, huh? Chad's going to throw some shame. Sunday was Dad's only free day all week, and he sometimes relaxed by going hunting or fishing while Mom took us to church. Apparently, I had noticed because when I was 5 years old, I asked Mom, "Why doesn't Daddy come to church?" Mom shared my question with Dad, and he realized it was time for him to fully commit to church activity. He began reading the Book of Mormon and had a very sacred experience that he holds close to his heart. He made the commitment to attend church each week. And so it's because Daddy, little doomsday there, guilted him into it. No. Okay. That was a turning point in my life as well. It meant a lot to me to have Dad sitting in sacrament meeting with us. He was soon called to serve as the teacher's quorum advisor, and he had an immediate positive influence on in the lives of several young men. They are still his close friends 40 years later. Okay. Oh, yeah. All right. Early experiences. My first encounter with death, okay, damn, came in 3rd grade when my classmate Randy Perkins was helping his brother dig a cave in the foothills above town. I mean, how big a cave are we talking for a 4th grader, 3rd grader? The cave collapsed on him, and he suffocated before his brother could get him out, which is tragic. It was quite a shock to me and our entire school. They said Randy was now in heaven, but I didn't really understand what that meant. Death became a scary topic to me. And I think as we've all learned, it seems to be like, I mean, he's surrounded by death. I mean, still, like, that's all he's done. And I mean, I understand. Like, I used to be scared of airplanes. I had an uncle that had a plane, his plane crashed in 2001. His plane. It was his extra plane that he hadn't had inspected yet. And he should have, hindsight, we're like, well, you should have took the one that was inspected, the one you had, But, and I mean, that plane crash killed all 7 on board. It actually crashed into a house in Joplin, Missouri back in 2001. And I mean, that just kind of always hung in the back of my mind. And so I really did not fly willingly, I'll say willingly, until after the murders. And I wanted to go to Rexburg. I wanted to go and be where they walked. I wanted to go and be where Tylee and JJ were at, Anyway, so it's crazy how you tend, and I mean, I say all this because I remember there was a time, I mean, I was so scared to fly, like I wouldn't go anywhere. My mom was like, "Here, we'll go to Italy. Well, anywhere you want, where you want to go." And I was like, "No, ma'am." I mean, I never would take her up on her offer. And I enrolled in in an apprenticeship to be a airplane or aircraft mechanic apprentice or whatever. And I went through the whole thing. I mean, I worked on Airbuses, still never flew on one, right? But I remembered I was trying to do things like that to overcome my fear of flying, But anyway, so there's that. They went to Peace Rate, and I was like, yeah, this sucks. So that's why I didn't follow through with that. Anyways, so it seems like he kind of does things like that. I mean, sexton, a cemetery sexton, afraid of death. Anyways, sports became a main focus. Our neighborhood was filled with good athletes. And when we weren't playing in organized city leagues, we were playing pickup games. It really was a small town, simplistic upbringing, and thankfully it kept us out of any real trouble. I was a year or 2 younger than most of the neighborhood boys, so I had to continually improve my game to keep up with them. I played t-ball as an 8-year-old, as most do, right? I played t-ball as an 8-year-old, and Dad was the coach. I played first base, and we won every game. My first year in Mustang League came to a screeching halt for me early in the season. I tried to score from third on a wild pitch. The catcher grabbed the ball and rushed back to tag me. So I slid awkwardly. Shocker. Anything from Chad. It was awkward, right? And banged my knee hard against the corner of the home plate. And I went crying because that's what I do. Anyways, my knee was tingling. Okay. So I pulled up my pant leg and nearly fainted at the sight. And see, I wondered, I was like, well, I wonder, that's kind of interesting. Is he one of those that buckles at the knees at the sight of blood? Because, I mean, here we are. There's murder victims he's about to, go to trial for. I just didn't know if this would come into play anywhere. And I mean, it's one thing seeing other people's blood because you're the cause of it. And then there's one thing, when you are he don't want to die. And so anything that I think threatens him is like, you're going to get that reaction right there. He nearly fainted at the sight. He says, I had cut my knee to the kneecap. Then I bent my knee in fright, splitting the skin to the back of my knee, exposing the muscles and tendons as well. It was quite gory, but it wasn't bleeding. Okay. Dad had been coaching third base, and he hurried over to me. He took one look at it, scooped me up, and carried me to our truck before speeding to Utah Valley Hospital in Provo. It took 80 stitches to close the wound. Okay. Okay. 40 deep inside the knee and another 40 outside. The doctor gave me a leg brace and wrapped it up tightly. They told me to stay off of it and to not even bump it for at least a month. Well, I don't listen. So a week later at my grandparents' home, we had a 4th of July party and my cousins were playing kickball. I couldn't resist playing. Okay. And I fell directly on my injured knee. The impact with the ground tore out all of those stitches. I rolled over and watched the gauze around my knee instantly turn bright red. My cousins all freaked out, and then it was essentially a repeat of the first time, with Dad rushing me to the car and hurrying me to the emergency room again. Mom sat with me this time in the back seat, applying cloths to my knee, but it just kept bleeding. I lost a lot of blood, and the skin was badly damaged from the stitches ripping out. I was now under strict orders to stay on the couch for the rest of the summer. I wonder if you listened. This was in early June, and I dreaded the long summer ahead of me. Thankfully, my Aunt Sue Creer brought me a couple of Hardy Boys books. I read those 2 books and got hooked on the series. Interesting. Over the next year, I read every Hardy Boys book in print. And I also read the entire Alfred Hitchcock and the 3 Investigators series. Oh my God. The knee injury was horrible, but it allowed me to develop, is it really your love for reading or, other extracurricular activities, Chad? Okay, which might not have happened if I'd been playing sports all summer. Once I healed up, I began making regular visits to the Springville Library. And over the years, yeah, I suck at this, huh? Okay. I've read hundreds of novels. I wonder if they're as long as Chad's novels. All of this reading sparked a desire within me to give writing a try. In 4th grade, I handwrote a short novel entitled The Murder of Dr. J and His Assistant. I wish this was available online. If and when. Oh my God. Can you imagine? I would love to see what is written. My teacher, Mr. Bushman, really liked it, and he had a school employee type it up. It was a fun story, despite the gruesome title, and they put it in the school library so my friends could check it out to read. I even received a commendation letter from the NEBO, school district superintendent. I suppose it was foreshadowing of my future career, right? And it says, my first and still most imposing book cover. The teacher's aide who put it together really created a classic. And no, the bird isn't the killer. Right? Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we only have 4 more pages left that I had, so we're just going to roll with it. Babe Ruth Jr. By the next summer, my knee was fully recovered, although I had a nasty scar that I still carry. I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder, and you still do. You still do there, bub. About I'm sorry. About the way the previous season had ended. Plus, I had grown a lot and was one of the biggest kids in the league. I was used to playing with the older neighborhood boys, so this season almost seemed too easy. To top it off, Mom offered me a silver dollar for every home run I hit. Oh my God. I didn't need the extra motivation, but I wasn't going to turn her down either. It admittedly got a little ridiculous, right? The baseball fields we played on didn't have any outfield fences, so all I had to do was hit a long drive between the outfielders, and I would circle the bases before they even grabbed the ball. Some coaches tried to pitch around me. Oh God. But I'd sometimes chase a bad pitch and still crush it. Right. I ended up with 38 silver dollars in 10 games. And I definitely needed some humbling. Oh, yes, you do. Don't worry. The Lord had a plan in mind. Holy shit. Over the next 3 years, I noticed how other kids were really sprouting up. At first, I didn't think much about it, but then it dawned on me. I had hardly grown since that memorable baseball season. I'd been just over 5 feet tall that year, right? I'm standing at 5'3". And now, entering 7th grade, I was still the same height. My grandma, Rosalie, was only 4'11". Hey, my grandma was the same height, straight up. And my dad is 5'9" on a good day. So I realized my fate as a short person might be sealed. I mean, that's just tragic, right? That's like just so tragic to him. Anyways. I continued to play sports, but I certainly wasn't the head of the class anymore. Little did I know that my grade contained the greatest collection of athletes Springville had ever seen. Our middle school coach told us that we would be lucky if one player from our grade, oh my God, our middle school coach told us we would be lucky if one player from our grade played college football. But from that group of about 150 boys, we had 14 college athletes and one NFL quarterback who I will discuss later, who I will boast about later. I've almost done this, y'all, with the next boyfriend. We were squirrel hunting, and yeah, I can already tell where this is going. Matt nearly gets shot. This is his brother. Dad would often take me hunting with him. During the pheasant hunt of 1980, I was the only child old enough to really shoot a gun. But my younger brothers, Paul and Matt, had begged to come too. We loaded the hunting dogs in the truck, and then my brothers and I piled into the cab. However, Dad was still at the doorway. "Boys, aren't we forgetting something? Come back in and let's have family prayer," he said. We all knelt around the couch and listened as Dad prayed that we would be protected that day during our hunt. Following the prayer, we drove to an area west of, Ganola, Utah, and began walking slowly through a field, waiting for the dogs to scare up some pheasants. I loaded in a shell and excitedly waited for a pheasant to fly up. Paul and Matt trailed behind Dad and me. We came to a ditch and Matt ran ahead and jumped across first. He landed on the other side and scared up a rooster pheasant in the process. I quickly put the gun to my shoulder and got the pheasant aligned in my gun sight, just as Matt stood up on the other side. I quickly put the gun... Oh, I already said that. His head was only a few feet from the end of my barrel. In my excitement, I hadn't noticed him. All I heard was my dad and Paul shouting, "No, Matt, no." It was too late. I had pulled the trigger. We all heard the gun click, but the shot was not fired. Oh my gosh. Dad dropped to his knees in shock while we stood in silence. Finally, Dad stood and took my gun. He popped the shell out of the chamber and examined it. The shell's primer, which is hit by a hammer to spark the gunpowder, well, I'd say Chad knows how a damn gun works, right? Was deeply indented. The gun should have fired and Matt should have been killed instantly. We prayed again in that field, thanking the Lord for preserving Matt's life and for fulfilling Dad's humble prayer earlier that morning. Okay, 8th grade. Wait, let's see. All right. 8th grade troubles. If Matt had died, it would have really sent me into a tailspin. because by the time I started 8th grade at the junior high, I was basically mad at the world. Why? The friends I had previously walked to middle school with now took a different route to the junior high. Wonder why. And it felt like I didn't have any friends. In my woodshop class, I became the target of a bully. He sat right next to me, and whenever the teacher left the room, this kid would just pound his fist into my shoulder and back. I finally told the teacher what was happening, and he moved the kid away from me, but my self-esteem was pretty low. One day that spring, I was slowly walking home across Memorial Park after school, and I saw a honeybee pollinating a dandelion. All I'm saying is, I know some people don't believe in the hurt people thing, but anyways, I peered at it for a moment, then smashed it with my shoe. I spotted another one, and then another one. I got a strange satisfaction from it. I kept count, and after about half an hour, I killed about 120 bees. Then, as I was about to step on another bee, a masculine voice shouted in my ear, "Hey, stop it. Leave them alone." I jumped back and looked around, but there wasn't anyone in sight. I was really shook up because the man had sounded really angry. I walked in a circle for a minute, trying to make sense of it. Finally, I realized that maybe an angel was fed up with me, killing God's innocent creatures. Wow. I've heard this a bazillion times, but sometimes when you actually repeat the words that they wrote, yeah. Finally, I realized that maybe an angel was fed up with me for killing God's innocent creatures. Whew, that incident helped me realize how pathetic I had become. And I decided to start making some better choices. Well, what happened? Okay. I love the comparison of these two photos. In the top one, which is over here to the left, I'm number 14. And this is the season when I smacked 38 home runs. In the bottom photo, I'm number 40, which is right here, which was taken nearly 3 years later. I'm the same height in both photos. I'm actually taller now than those long-haired giants behind me. Okay, I'd hope so. Right? That's how, oh my God. That's how growing works. Anyways. All right. I think this is the last one. Yeah. Finding my religion. I had been ordained a deacon the previous year, but I really didn't study the gospel. I had received some handheld electronic sports games for Christmas, and that's how I spent most of my time after school. Then came the B chastisement. I'd never been yelled at by an unseen voice before, and I didn't want it to occur again. I started setting some goals. One goal was to read the Book of Mormon. My deacon's quorum advisor had encouraged me to read it, so I finally opened up the book and slowly made my way through it. The Isaiah chapters in 2nd Nephi really baffled me, but I pushed forward. Once I reached the book of Alma, I was really enjoying the story. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Isn't that enough? That was a lot of Chad Daybell, right? So I really appreciate y'all going through this with me. Okay, let me try and fix my screen. Hey y'all. You ever feel more dumber for having read something? Half an hour killing bees for fun. He's gross. I mean, I always just steered clear of them, You don't mess with them, they don't mess with you. It's Jason and the boys, they're my bonus sons, but they are like, they wig out, and I'm like, the more you wig out, the worse it is. But Jason wigs out, so they get that honestly. I mean, I'm just like, okay, especially with wasp and stuff. I got stung under the arm one time, twice. I mean, same time. Hornets. And I was like, oh my God, that's so painful under the arm. It was a garage sale, right? Anyways. But yeah, the whole killing God's innocent creatures. I mean, it just blows my mind. Ravina Denver says he was always psycho. I do believe. But he seems but is it just me or I don't know what to call it really, but he seems real self-aware. Um, he notices things. I mean, I notice things too, but I don't know. Or just I don't know what it is. His writing sucks. Chad, we hate your books. We're going to reiterate that until you get it. I wish that people could wear Chad, we hate your books shirts in the courtroom. That'd be great. Here we go. We hate your books, Chad. Yeah. Here you go, Chatty Daddy. Remember? Whack-a-mole, right? Whack-a-mole. He's so gross. And it's just so, you know, the people impacted by the decisions of Chad and Lori. Let me move him. Oh, okay. Let me move him. They're far and wide, and felt by so many every day. I'll never forget Chad Daybell. Unfortunately, I'll never be able to forget Chad Daybell. I don't know. That's interesting though. Oh, I wonder that too now that you say that. So why did he continue to So why did he continue to kill God's children, right? Yeah. He reminds me of Dahmer, psycho, still in control. Very. Right? Oh, Jake Asmal. Good point, but I feel dumber. Not dumber. Kidding. Right? Yeah, I think so. Little brands, past behaviors predict. I can't predict future ones. I mean, not can't. See, I'm throwing words in where they don't belong. Yeah. Denylina says Chad seems like he was always a big old pud. Blaming Matt? Who pulls a trigger with your brother's head in front of the barrel? That's Chad's fault. And it would have been, but I bet he wouldn't have blamed it on that. He'd have been like, it was the gun's fault. You know? It'd have been anybody else's fault but them. Yeah. Yeah. It's called gun safety, you know? Again, but I accidentally did it too one time. And I was an adult. So we're in the woods and I shot a squirrel and I got excited, right? And I saw another one and I went to shoot. And at that time, my ex-boyfriend was my boyfriend at the time. He came out, just out of nowhere. And I didn't know and he didn't know. Anyways, I made him hug me in the woods because I was like, oh my God, I didn't mean to do that. Like, oh my, that could have been really life-changing and bad and horrible and my fault. Nobody else's fault but my fault. Now that you say that, that was my fault. Anyways, yeah, there's no accountability in this story at all whatsoever. None. I know. So weird how the rest of the world would be. I had a feeling that I shouldn't go down there. This cult always hears it outside themselves. It's so weird how hard they front as chosen. And then they're told that too. I guess when let's just say you're born into it. And I mean, this is just how I kind of try to empathize, I guess. It's just you're born into this belief system where you're told every single day that you are special, that you are chosen. You've got a couple apostles, living apostles or whatever, that have said that in your lifetime, the second coming of Jesus Christ will happen. I'm sorry, language of forces that caught my eye. And they're bad, right? He still has the same barber, I'd say, which would probably be himself, if I had to guess. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they're told they're special, that anybody outside of the religion I mean, just this last conference, President Nelson was basically like, don't talk to anybody that's anti-Mormon or that's not Mormon. I'm just like, good God, don't be a cult leader, right? Why are you so bossy? What you scared of, right? Diversity, you know? Oh, you're scared not to be in an echo chamber? Yeah. I mean, that's terrible. I would die. I would not. I think that would be the worst thing is to be surrounded by people that were always, I mean, that never gave me any opposition, that never were like, you crush, you really think that's a good idea? You sure? You know, I mean, just, or that were different so that I mean, I tend to observe everything around me. And so I've learned so many things, still do. I learned so many things by watching other things, other people around me, and so when there's diverse people around you from different races, creeds, backgrounds, religions, sex, it's you learn different things from different people. Anyways, and so when you are stuck in an echo chamber and you are told that you're special, you're chosen, that Jesus Christ is going to come back sometime during your lifetime, and that your magic drawers are, magic, just that magic. Here we are. To me, that's a big fear of mine, would be to be stuck in a echo chamber. I couldn't. There's this, like, one of my first boyfriend, like, this was back when I was like 15, and I want to say, or maybe 16. Anyways, we went to dinner. I'm sure his parents brought us, but there goes my lipstick. All right. But whatever, it bothered me so bad, and that should have been foreshadowing for myself. But he ordered, like, he waited for me to order, which is okay, whatever. I know that's being chivalrous and everything, but it wasn't just that time. It was times after that. Whatever I ordered, he ordered too. And I was just like, why are you ordering the same thing as me? What do you want? I want somebody that makes their own damn decisions, right? Just saying. Jesus jammies. I like that. Jesus jammies. Oh, that church did a big, oh my God. That church did a big sweep of my reservation and took a bunch of us kids to foster care. I'm so sorry. I had to live with Mormons for 4 years. I'm still in therapy. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that, and that many more have had to go through that. The adoption, I mean, I'm not even just saying for the tribes, the different, what was it called? The Indian placement program. Like, y'all don't need placement, first off. Anyways, I mean, I've got Cherokee blood in me. I always thought, even when I'm skinny or whatever, I have big cheeks, and I always thought that I was fat because of it. But they're just high cheekbones, But anyways, it comes from that part, I think. Maybe not. But I just, the whole adoption thing is disturbing. It is disturbing. That and it's still going on. And so you look at Tim Ballard, you look at Catherine Ballard, you look at Janet Russin, they're all, I mean, they're not the only ones. There's so many people in these adoption, they got their hands in it. And I'm just like, I see ye fruits, and ye fruits are rotten. And what are y'all really doing, and why? And child trafficking. Amen, sister. Yep. Hey, Chris. I've been looking into your Facebook. Holy hell. That's nuts. But thank you for tagging me, Chris. It's helping me understand a lot more too. The associations and everything. I don't know. It's been just one mind F after another. I swear. worldview shattered, whatever. Here we are. I didn't come this far just to come this far. So might as well expose while we're here, right? Because there's no turning back. You can't go back to your old life ever. That's ruined and gone and done. So, oh my God, right. I have that. I mean, I didn't know that, but it was just one of those things that I was like, Sean a little bit really teed me off. He's mixing our ceremonies with people who have done nothing but hurt other people. He's disgusting to me. I would love to know more. If you want to email me, that'd be great. Kresha0123@gmail.com. If you want to. No pressure. But here we are almost 5 years later. Not much more has come out about it. And there's more. There's so much more. And it's only going to mean that more people get hurt because it goes unchecked. It goes unexposed, in my opinion. So people will never change if they're never held accountable and responsible for what they're putting out in the world. Myself included. I'm not. Yeah. That includes myself. Oh, God bless you too. It is weird reality, Chris. It's a weird freaking reality. It's like alter. I'm like, what? What's really going on? It's different though. Like, okay, so what I've kind of discovered, what's kind of been a main theme, and it's taken me a long time to even, I'm like, oh, okay. And it's just because of watching other people, listening to them talk about cults and what they really are. And so it's like this whole facade that also protects it. I mean, it protects the cult or the reason for the quote unquote cult. And so we're analyzing as people on the outside. We're analyzing. Oh, thank you. Yeah, there are a ton of kids. There are a ton of kids. Yes, that are being hurt right now. Yeah. And will continue. Will continue. They're not going to stop. It works for them. So it works, and it works really good. That's another thing about this. What do they call it? Intelligence community. 3-letter word, the 3-letter community, 3-letter, I'll say it one time. CIA agents, the counterintelligence intelligence agencies. There's always something weird, and I didn't know this. It's like different layers. It's of that onion, right? Boy, and that I love onion, but this one is a bitter. It's bitter onion, and it bites you every chance it gets. And so initially, especially, I didn't hear about this quote unquote cult that I've still just been like, who was the leader and what? Chad talks like every other priesthood holder, every other patriarch in this organization, in my opinion. That's just me. And I mean, that's just me comparing what he's writing, what he's saying with others, people he's looked up to, I'm sure. Other, it just doesn't make sense. So I'm just like, well, where is he claiming to be a prophet? Where, besides, obviously the evidence of Tylee and JJ and Charles and Tammy and Joe not being here anymore. My mom was put on that prophecy. And that's scary. Yeah, that part reminds me of Ervil LeBaron, how when he was dead, people were still being murdered or atoned, Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Uncovering more and more every day, every single day. And it's so disgusting. And not just Yeah. Not just their corporation. It's other corporations. It's so gross. When you grow up in a world and you're like, oh wow, it's so cool to have, all these organizations who then promote all the good things that they do and that they provide and yada yada yada. But when you really take a step back and you look at the totality of it all, you're just like, oh my God, no, this is not good. And so then it goes back to that whole thing I was saying just now about, and I don't really know how to explain it, but like the CIA, counterintelligence agency, and of the like. I watched this whole thing, y'all. Oh, I watched a couple things actually on Netflix by chance. Like Jason changes it off of YouTube, right? And so when I woke up, I turned it and I saw the program and I was like, huh, it was new. So I don't know if anybody has seen it, but it's basically these the teen help industries or whatever you want to call that. I forget what it's called. Yeah. And so well, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but I would go check it out. It's called The Program. The other one I watched was something about, again, I'm never going to remember the title verbatim. I suck with all that information in my head. The Octopus Surprise Attack. I don't know. It's an American conspiracy about a reporter. And just the level of cover up, different levels. I'm just like, well, it's not that far fetched, And again, I think it's so wacky and wackadoodle, so that those who do go and investigate it, those who do try to expose it, look absolutely insane, sound insane. It discredits the person trying to call them to accountability for all the hurt that they are doing and the harm that they are doing to our loved ones and then some, to society, period, to humanity. And it's like, what's the end game? And I think it's about power. I think it's all about power. You can have so much money and so much sex, and then now look at them, they're bored. And so they're trying to well, the transhumanists like Shalom Levitt and Rosie Anderson, whichever name. They're transhumanists who are trying, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, where a child can consent to having relations with adults because children want to have sex, don't you know? Don't you know? Right? I know. I'll wait while your blood pressure goes back down. Come on. I'm like, I even thought about it, last night. I was like, Jason, what the hell you think? Let's just say they had it their way. They had it their way and kids had to consent to do some weird shit with them. Sadistic, right? Then what? Then what? What after that? Because I think that is the absolute bottom of the totem pole. That's worse than the bottom feeders, Yeah. And I'm sorry you're having to go through that too. Do you see any similarities like with how how my uncle was with Lori, like when he was trying to, get help for Lori? I just wonder. You don't have to answer, but oh God, right? The frogs. Oh, you did see it. Okay, good. It was good. It caught me, and I didn't expect it to, but it was good. Frustrating because you still don't have answers, but again, I'm learning that there's a lot of connections and associations and strong ass ties from the Manson murders So many layers of affiliations. And I mean, I'm not saying this to, dredge this up for the family members of the victims. That's not at all. But I don't think my mom and Larry would be like really open to this idea either. You know what I mean? Like, I know that nobody in my family has dug as deep as I have. Again, that's no shade on anybody. That's just, I just know. But I'm kind of glad. I mean, because this is horrible. But to know that maybe your family possibly was part of an experiment, and there's a lot of things that will not come forward, have not come forward, and will never come forward because it's never meant to. It's just meant to convolute it. It's meant all the weird shit we've heard, the portals and all the weird shit, the vibrations and all those weird things that you have heard are in my opinion the experiment that was used and is being used, has been being used since the 60s. If I don't know when it started. I'm not a freaking professional. But it's so crazy. If there's government involvement, does that make me a bad person for questioning? Or is that what I think the government could possibly, maybe, allegedly be narcissistic? I don't know. I don't know the point of it. I figured that from what you were tagging me in. I figured it was Hawaii related. It's nuts. Well, keep tagging me. Keep sending stuff if you don't mind, because I go into it and I'm like, oh, Lord. It's like a whole nother layer of, okay, but a whole nother layer of things to try and remember. The associations, this mind think, like the necromancy, the manipulation. And then so I'm reading that book from Dave McGowan, PTK, Project to Kill. Or wait, I'm sorry. Did I say that right? No, I don't think I did. Let me grab it. Program to Kill is what the name of it is. My bad. Let's see. One of these damn windows. How many of that one do I have open? Oh, I mean, I've been reading a lot of papers on Scribed. I don't know if anybody, you can read a lot of things for free. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to download the app or anything, but I've had it forever. And I've been reading a lot of papers that people publish there. Satanism and the CIA. Freemasons have been using using the description, quote, born again, okay, in their ceremonies for centuries. The use of the word reborn in the Freemasons' initiation ceremonies has a sinister and a satanic meaning. The skull and crossbones, which are very relevant in this story, was also the Nazi SS symbol, and the Freemasons' use of the symbol is, oh my God, is similar to that of the Thule Society, Thule. I don't know how to say that right. And I mean, there's just so many papers. Let's see. Let me stop that. There you go. Right. Dun, dun, dun. And so my friend Justin at LDS Abuse, I mean, he's been pulling a lot of research on secret societies, mainly the Skull and Bones, because President Nelson and President Ballard and a lot of these people in these higher positions are part of this secret society that Melanie Gibb warned us about, right? Actually, she didn't warn us about it, but she preached at her other, like-minded people, friends at AVAL, and was just like, watch out for them Gadiant robbers, yo, Anyways, everybody probably knows someone who is a Freemason, but how many of us know what is involved in Freemasonry? Its beliefs, aims, purpose, and history. The establishment and the press in the past have endeavored to portray the Freemasons as examples of upstanding citizens and respectable members of society. Well, I know my great grandpa was a Shriner too. Okay. I get it. It's like, I haven't gotten there yet because I'm working outward and coming, working my way in. I haven't had a chance because Chad and Lori screwed up a great deal, in my opinion. And so they've kind of polluted my free time, for 5 years now. It is only in recent years, possibly with the advent of the internet, that light is being shown into the darker and sinister aspects of the workings of Freemasonry. Many books have been written on the Freemasons, and several excellent websites have appeared exposing all their hitherto unknown secrets. One of these sites is Freemason Watch. Okay. And I would recommend for everyone to visit this highly enlightened site. I'll copy it and share the link with you guys. Let me put it in chat right now while I'm thinking about it. And it's in there. I haven't been to it yet, so just know that. And so there's that. But see how it gives you a whole list on the side the whole time of things you should read? That's why I always have so many windows open, because I'm like, oh my God, I want to read this, I want to read that. A higher level of spiritual awareness and of exclusive esoteric knowledge. Sounds like a cult. The Freemasons use of the wording reborn, born again, and born anew should be closely scrutinized. I believe there is a definite connection with the fundamentalist, charismatic Christians' use of the same word to describe their followers. The use of the terminology born again could have a different or even an inverted meaning, right? Oh, let me. Okay, damn it. We are all told that Jimmy Carter in 1976 was the first person to coin the phrase born again to describe his type of Southern Baptist Christian belief. The Freemasons have been using the description born again in their ceremonies for centuries. However, the use of the description born again in the Freemasons' initiation ceremonies has a sinister and satanic meaning. Reference the 33-degree level in Freemasonry. I'll just read a little bit more. Another interesting analogy is Hitler and his spiritual awakening within the Thule Society. I guess that's how you say it. The Thule Society is the German Brotherhood of Death secret society, and it has as its symbol the skull and crossbones. This was also the Nazi SS symbol, and the Freemasons used the skull and crossbones in their ceremonies. The extremely secretive USA Society. Skull and Bones is believed to be the American branch of the original German Thule Society. Amen. That's all where this freaking crap comes from. That's what I've been telling Jason. He looks at me crazy sometimes, and I'm like, do you think I'm crazy? He's probably like, oh my God. Oh shit. Okay. The leader of the Thule Society was, I hope I'm saying that right, in the 1930s was Dietrich Eckart. He was Hitler's mentor who nurtured and led him into the world of the supernatural. In the Thule group in Munich, Eckart, Alfred Rosenberg, and Hitler held seances and communicated with demons. Eckart believed that a dark spirit had informed him that he was the guardian of the coming Great One, the Antichrist. There you go. There's your second coming. Okay. Now you know when Tim Ballard, when Lori, when Chad, when any look at the Thibodeau's there in Arizona. When anyone talks of the second coming, this, in my opinion, is what they are talking about. Okay. They are helping usher it in by scaring us, by causing fear, chaos, distraction, things like that. They're causing all those things to stir up and cause us to compartmentalize, to dissociate, to dumb us down, to make us conform. In my opinion, I'm not anti anything. I'm anti corruption, anti bullshit. Okay. So, anyways, Eckhart said on his deathbed, "Follow Hitler, he will dance, but it is I who have called the tune. I have initiated him into the secret doctrine, opened his centers in vision, and given him the means to communicate with the powers." Whoa. When Eckhart had completed his training of Hitler, Hitler described his spiritual experiences as a transformation and believed his had been born anew, born again. I have been involved since '94 in a campaign to expose a satanic cult, which has members in hundreds of countries across the world. I have discovered over these 7 years that this cult can be traced back to the USA, where it was spawned in the 1970s. In the early 1970s, the CIA were involved in mind control research on human guinea pigs. This research program was called MK Ultra. Yeah. Congress directed the CIA in 1973 to cease its program, as if it would, right? It's secret. But instead, the CIA carried on its mind control program using quote unquote, quote, religious cults as fronts and covers for their research and practice. Amen. So is Tim part of this? He's the CIA Connect, right? Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Now it's going to make me sign in. Maybe not. The CIA recruited Jim Jones. His father was a Ku Klux Klan member, the head of the Indianapolis Church, the People's Temple Gospel Church. The CIA involvement with Jim Jones culminated in the so-called quote-unquote suicides in Guyana in 1978 of 911 members of the People Temple. Contrary to the CIA and their pawns in the U.S. media, which is owned by 6 companies, many writers and researchers believe that this was a CIA mind control experiment, which involved the murders of 911 People's Temple members, the majority of whom were Black Americans. After the People's Temple demise, the CIA and U.S. military continued their involvement with quote-unquote religious cults as fronts for mind control research. The Children of God, I know that's significant with this story, would be another cult whose leader, David Berg, had friends in high places with the U.S. administration who protected the cult from the many allegations of child abuse. Oh, really? And devil worship, right? Anyways, I'm going to go read this because this seems pretty good. Oh, yeah, I saw that on Geraldo. So it's like, I always pictured, like, I don't know, when all this first began, I pictured like Lori in the temple, in the celestial room, praying her ass off. And I pictured Jason Mao over the intercom pretending to be Moroni. Okay, for what it's worth, I don't even know what that means, but that's just the impression I got with all this. And I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying it's got to be along those lines, or that's just that was my first like impression of everything. But just think of every cult that you've ever heard of and how convoluted they are and how the manipulation, are they testing them to see how far they will go, what all they will do, to cause another chaotic and painful and traumatizing event that divides us people as well, because we want to point the finger at who's doing what and who's doing what. but really it goes higher than even, President Nelson. It goes higher. It goes all the way up, which makes me trust my gut intuition. When I kind of figured out that this goes all the way up, I just didn't know how or where. This was a long time ago. And I remember thinking to myself, well, who can I run to? Who can I talk to? Where do I go? And I started going through the chain of command in my head. And, I was like, I can ask the Rexburg detectives. And I was like, no, because they may, I don't know where this goes. And then I was like, what about the prophets of the church? And I was like, no. Then I was like, what about FBI? And I was like, no. And I mean, I just ticked these off in my mind as I was going through the chain of command. And it's scary. I was thinking the president, and I was like, hell no. Then I was like, CIA. And I was like, hell to the no. To the no. Okay. So I realized then I still didn't know what it meant at the time. Still learning. Still don't know the full picture. But I mean, where does this go? How high? And I mean, pretty much it's not just one person. Okay. It is the Davidic servant, so to speak. I don't know. I'm not trying to ruin Bible talk or anything, but I just try to figure out where these people, what they are. Accelerationalists. They want to accelerate all the things, all the doom and gloom, the doomsday. That's what that is. That's Tim Ballard. I got to show y'all something on the way out. Let me grab it. It's hilarious. Let me go to my history real quick. Okay. All right. We have 9,179 subscribers. I'm hoping to hit 10. Then I can start raising money for foundations, nonprofit organizations, right? Maybe I can help Tammy Daybell's foundation out. Oh, I need to go turn on some things. Okay. It was history. I'm in the wrong thing. Okay, nothing fast here. Okay, there's nothing ever fast. Just know that. Okay, your channel. Okay, go there. I get confused whether it's in my channel or in my studio. It's in my channel. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's see. It should be right around here. Should be. I don't remember her name. There it is. All right. Let me go share my screen so y'all can see this. And I remember these pictures too. I just haven't seen them in forever, so I'm glad she brought them up. Let me get to the spot, and then I'll go share it. Okay. 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 Here we go. All right. Now let me get over there and share my screen. All right. Her name is Dark Hearts with Stacey Lee. Okay.
It's about a truth when it's really full of lies. I think that sucks. And that is why this is such a problem. Child trafficking is a very real problem. But I'm going to throw a couple of numbers at you. Tim Ballard would tell people that there were 25 million children and women enslaved in Venezuela in child sex trafficking rings. And the government says it's more like 20,000. So 20,000, 25 million.
Imagine what else he conflates, right? Just saying.
Away from their families to try and help these children. That is happening. Do you know who any of those people are? Of course you don't, because their work is undercover and their work involves child victims. They aren't flying into town square in a goddamn helicopter. They aren't on stage with Donald Trump waving to the crowds.
Oh,
They aren't making movies full of lies about
okay. I think I passed it up. Okay. I did. It is a helicopter though. Oh, geez.
special, because Tim Ballard wasn't getting famous for singing or acting. He was getting famous for doing good. He was getting famous for being a do-gooder. And there is nothing Mormons love more than being adjacent to goodness. It is crack for them. Tim started, this is so corny.
It is.
Tim started making public appearances. Apparently, he made one in St. George when I was living in Vegas, but he would enter the town he was appearing at to give a speech or whatever it was in a helicopter that he would have landed like in the town square.
We have to stop because do I have a treat for you? After I recorded this episode, a friend of mine contacted me that knew I was doing the episode and said, Stacy, I have photographs from this day. Lots and lots of
I did too
photographs.
in my old phone.
So you are in for
Y'all, look at
such
his
a
face.
treat.
Hold
No
on.
one has seen these photos in years, if ever at all.
Mhm.
Enjoy.
Straight up. Watch. It better get really funny.
This is what really bothers me about this situation. Look at all these people coming to this event. Do you think for 1 second that any of these people thought this man was a liar and a con man? These folks were there because they thought he was doing something good and they wanted to show their
Look.
support to someone
Look
who
his
was
face.
working hard to save children. These are good people. These are decent people that thought they were supporting a good cause and they got took. And it makes me really angry.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at him. I mean, that is so gross.
Oh my goodness, you guys. I'm sorry. I just think this is the dorkiest. This is one of the most uncool things I think I've ever seen in my life.
It's trashy.
I have never seen anyone so desperate to be worshipped and treated like a hero. This is the corniest freaking thing I have ever seen. I feel bad for the people that went, and I'm sure some of them still support him and are mad at the things that I'm saying, and I couldn't care less. This is my opinion. I think this is so dorky and so telling of how badly he wanted to be treated like a hero. And can we get him a t-shirt that fits? This is really
Look at them pits, though. He got sweat pits. Sweating out all them toxins.
really embarrassing to me. I just don't know what else to say. And then, of course, you know, we've got the hero worship imagery, these signs, these photos. And then, of course, him hugging Sean Reyes,
It's
our
during
state
COVID,
attorney
I think.
general, who he later destroys.
And I don't agree with that. I think Sean and him are buds from way back. I mean, if you watch Lynn Packer's videos, there's, I don't know which one it's on, but he talks about Sean Reyes' dad and how he participated in some pretty peculiar films. Film art goes hand in hand with the Satanists. I don't know what else to call them.
I am sorry. I just think that is so embarrassing.
Okay.
His team would.
Now let me go catch this real quick. Veteran. Because this is very poignant to. Oh. And I think this is something to be said. And I'm only sharing it because it's something that her son-in-law shared with her when she asked her his opinion of Tim Ballard doing this cosplay. Okay. Whenever he's never served in the military, nor has he done any service to anybody anywhere, in my opinion.
Something I take very seriously. My father, my uncles, my grandfathers are all veterans. And I now have a brother-in-law and a son-in-law who are veterans as well. So I asked my daughter's partner for a quote on what he thinks of Tim Ballard. And this is what he said. I think most people that try and impersonate military personnel have some sort of mental illness. Just like an adult that can't hold a job and pretends to be an astronaut all day, which might be the extreme, there is some sort of disconnection from reality. Maybe the person pretending to be a veteran wanted to be in the military as a child, and now that they're an adult and think they can get away with a lie, they live that experience through the lie. Jorge Zenteno, E5 Sergeant, U.S. Marine Corps veteran. On top of everything else I find vile about Tim Ballard, the stolen valor allegations are among the most serious.
In May of 2000,
Yeah. So yeah, I was glad whenever I saw this. I was like, oh my God, yes. Right. She conveys it just the way I feel. I mean, people are sick of this. And people need to know. And it sucks whenever I don't know. I think it's a thing of wanting to be right or not wanting to be wrong about somebody. But I mean, at what cost? And better yet, at the cost of who? You know? So I kind of wonder, this is where I'm at right now. I wonder if this psyop or whatever you want to call it is why we're here today. Is why they're not here right now. And was Chad and Lori just because it's the same movement? It is the same damn movement. Tim Ballard and Lori and Chad, same movement, just different debuts, right? I wonder if Chad and Lori were just a product of whatever the hell they're doing in this psyop, or were they the main event? You know what I'm saying? I want to say they're not the main event because look, all the other stuff going on. So it's weird. You think so? Do you think so? Oh, you think so too? Bingo. Right. Imposter. Nature and nurture. Right. Goddess most impotent. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I always do say that wrong. Omnipotent. Yeah. Social. Yes. Social engineering. To get the herd or the masses to conform. It's like I picture sheep, being corralled. And one of the main, I really realized that long before any of this other stuff flew onto my map, that just how just in the LDS church, the way they structure their heaven with the celestial, terrestrial, telestial tiers. And they're already getting people. I mean, you go look for yourself in the forums. There is a lot of talk of people in the now today planning what they're going to do in the heaven, in the afterlife, in the tiered system. It's like this they've got that mind of thinking going on. Okay. So people are already like, okay, so if I do this, if I'm, if I strive to be in the celestial kingdom, which is the very top of the top, then I can minister to you, and you'll see them talk about it. And it's so sad because it's like they're not living in the now, they're pre-planning their afterlife. So much so it's a little alarming and sad at the same time. So it's like that seed has been planted and it's being imposed, in my opinion, so that it's not going to seem so far-fetched whenever, they're just kennel up everybody. And then Nazi repeat again. It's never, anyways. It's so huge, and Chad and Lori are just a microcosm in the big, scheme of things. They're just another example of this in the scheme of things. It really sucks. So how far do we go? And I don't want to know the answer to that question. That was just a rhetorical question. Anyways, I'm so glad you guys are here and that you toughed this out with me. Appreciate it. Yeah. Stay sweet, pray and obey. All MK programming, right? Yeah. They want to be put. They are ushering it in, sister. And I mean, I'm telling you, you know how long it's taken me to just even talk about this. It's so weird and conspiratorial. And I'm just like, well, then color me conspiratorial then. Is that a bad thing? Or is it just something that they say is bad so that nobody else will want to do it? Okay. Because okay, one of the ways of thinking about it is for people to like to accept the fact that satanic ritual abuse, ritual murder, um, that these things are real and it's not just some outlandish story just trying to wreck the lives of innocent perpetrators. Okay, for Christ's sake. Oh, Sandra the sweet. It has brought me down, but I like to see through it, you know. I like knowing. Not so much. It's not been fun. But if I didn't see the end, then or the not the end of the world, but the end of my participation in such deep research, then yeah. But I do. Yeah. It will hurt. It does hurt. And I'm sorry that you've been there too. You know, it really is sad. But anyways, yeah, I don't know what I was saying, but it's not that important. Anyways, I appreciate y'all. Okay, I'm trying to get my mind back back on track if it ever was. Anyways, thank y'all for being here. Justice for Tylee, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. As always, right? Love always wins, and you guys are proof of this. Keep up the good fight. We're not doing this alone. We're doing this together. But like Sandra said, let's not let it consume us. It's kind of too late, but I get it. Anyways, thank y'all. Keep exposing.